Good morning, everyone. We are the Archery News, and today we are going to talk about the technological evolution in the textile industry in Colombia. So, the most relevant advances in this area have happened in the Industrial Revolution. In the first industrial revolution, I went from manual to industrial production. The textile industry was one of the main industries involved in this revolution, as the machines after this were steam driven, which facilitate the manufacture and production of fabrics from raw materials. In the revolution, cotton was the main raw material. In the second industrial revolution, craft production was shifted to mass production, where the production of the textile industry was facilitated and improved by the new machines. So the trade increased as more was produced, more was sold. An example of the new machine is the spinning machine that allows the spinning of fine and thick yarns, which generates a high increase in the production of textile factories. In the third industrial revolution, new information and communication technologies were created, which enabled most industries to benefit. In the case of textile industry, companies were able to make themselves more known through websites and social networks like Instagram and Facebook, thanks to the internet. In addition to that, began the automation of production. And finally, in the fourth industrial revolution, the emergence of intelligent factories and online production management were introduced. Also, it allows the digitalization and interconnection of each factory, each machine, each component, and each part involved in the production process, the creation of intelligent materials and new technologies. Now we are going to listen to our partner, Salome Urrea.
Hi everyone. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about what produced them, where did the idea come from, and was there any local background to them. So we will focus on the implementation of the 4.0 technologies, namely in the fourth industrial revolution in textile industry, specifically on big data, robotics and automatization, biotechnology and nanotechnology, in which big data means the massive management of data that allows identify patterns to categorize, process, and obtain demand information, as well as new styles, forms, and trends that influence the production. For example, the analysis on modeling of factories in real time to optimize processes and detection of defects in textile fabrics. The robotics and automatization, that is this image, brings together different technological files with the aim of designing robust machines capable of performing different automated tasks. For example, a robotic arm capable of manipulating clothing and machines capable of adding color to yarns replaces the need for workers by automating the garment manufacturer's process. The biotechnology, that is this image, is the development and implementation of new renewable and sustainable raw materials for fiber processing, replacing traditional natural and petrochemical sources. An example of this can be the biofabrics for eucalyptus that have a unique characteristic, are waterproof, lightweight, and biodegradable. Also, synthetic fibers delivered from the corn. And the last one, that is a nanotechnology, that is this image over there, is the development of materials with new properties and the combination of different functions in the same textile materials by means of nanoparticles that add functionalities such as antibacterial, anti-stain, humidity control, temperature regulations, among others. An example can be the development of fabrics capable of self-cleaning and controlling the color of the fabric. So now we go with the researcher, Sofia Linares.
Okay, hi everyone. What produced them? So from the creation of the internet in 1983 and the massification of this technology in the 90s, all the industry have had to adapt to constant flow of information applied to trade, logistic and business communication. The creation of platforms like Amazon and online databases have been applied in companies to increase competitive. In Colombia, the implementation of this technology has been mainly focused on logistic, creating platform to deliver just-in-time service that help to increase the productivity of the companies. So where did the ideas come from? The ideas emerged in other countries and Colombia coupled them. The idea of robotics emerged in the fourth industrial revolution in Germany to save time, have an increase in productivity and satisfy consumers. Okay, the term big data nowadays is very important in the world of technology. However, it is a concept that comes from the 1930s when Alan Turing, the father of computing, through a machine capable of executing tasks autonomously. The idea arose during the World War II when Alan Turing led an intelligent team where his objective was to decipher Enigma, which managed to decipher some German messages, and it was there that he was considered as the pioneer of the big data. And finally, the idea of biotechnology and nanotechnology comes from Japan, and it is the main producer of spatial and intelligence fabrics and has the 5 most important laboratories in the world where new possible materials are researched. However, the United States and Switzerland are also of a great importance in this area. And now we are going to our partner, Gabriela Ovalle.
Thank you, Sophia. So I'm going to talk about the local background of this technology. Despite the extensive presence in Colombia of automatization processes in industries such as cement, beverages, and food, the absence of policies that encourage investment and research in new technologies have not allowed the modernization of the textile industry. On another hand, given the lack of resources and research cultures, engineers have been forced to work in maintenance and operation areas, reducing the possibilities of innovation. In contrast, the private sector, seeking for the economical and social benefits of the implementation of these technologies, have opened spaces such as the Colombian Association of Professional in Instrumental and Industrial Automatization and the Industrial Automatization Congress, which is done every year in Conferias, in which experts in the subjects, success stories and ways of implementation and standardization of industrial automatization are shown. In addition to this, the appearance of companies whose business model is to advise and help other companies to automatize their production is currently increasing by designing, developing, and executing projects for the optimization of software, industrial communication networks, and control and movement of machinery, among others. Okay, so now how was the implementation process? In the textile industry, not much is known apart from the digitalization term, which converged big data and automatization. So the implementation process has been slow and it has a low development in new technologies, relying heavily on labor for production. And as there is no demand of these new technologies, there is no collaboration between suppliers and companies, making it more difficult to adapt in the textile industry. Finally, the digital transformation for the textile industry is by the fact that it requires a great effort for companies, both in the investment level and in determining how it is going to be implemented, especially in dependents, which generally have few resources. Now, our colleague Salome will expand this information.
Okay. Of vital importance is the implementation of textile production technologies using intrinsically conductive polymers PIC, and carbon nanotubes CNT. Research projects have been create the seek feasible production methods for implementation in Colombian companies. The role played by nanotextiles is quite important. However, knowledge in these fields is still emerging in the country, and for these reasons, alliances must be sought with institutions and industry from other countries at the forefront in order to train countries' human resources about the new developments. However, materials in the form of nanoparticles or nanofibers have already been found that give them a greater added value to the products. And in some companies have already used biotechnology in clothing through the manufacture of poles with chips that offer the user recommendation on the complements that fit more with the garment in question, depending on the climate of the moment or with the color of the rest of the clothing. So now Sofia Linares are going to tell us how long did it take this process?
Okay, this will take thousands of years and will be fairly slow process, as already mentioned, more than anything else, because Colombia it is an underdeveloped country. Therefore, it takes longer to adapt completely to new trends. These developments began at the same time as the fourth industrial revolution. In other words, the year 2010, and it is hoped that they will be continued to be applied for life, that they will never end, and that they will be applied more and more over the years, for these advances are never going to end. Okay, now we are going to our partner, Manuela Zafra.
So we ask if now we wonder if it has been successful, and the answer is yes. It has been successful because they have managed that the garments not only read or perceive the environment, but also react to the different stimuli, generating a change in its structure, transforming its strength, density, color, and other physical properties of the fabrics. On the other hand, thanks to robotics and automation, and to big data, labor and manufacturing costs have been reduced until the year 2025 to reduce it by 16%, and it has also helped to increase productivity until by 30%, as World Economic Forum says. Furthermore, there have been cases of successful companies that applied these advances to remain important in the market. An example of this is Arturo Calle, who used nanotechnology and biotechnology to launch a collection with special antiviral and antibacterial textiles. The project is the result of an investment of 4 billion, which they made research, testing, and development of fabrics. This company, like Vélez, Mario Hernandez, Leonisa, among others, use big data and has become a fundamental piece to manage customer data and thus be able to make a new releases adapt to the needs of this. In addition, and finally, we note that the large Colombian companies that belong to this industry use robotics and automation to save themselves some labor costs. An example of this is in the Vélez leader plant. And now we are going to listen to our experts, Sofia Linares and Gabriela Ovalle.
Okay, what is the aftermath? Fashion in Colombia, according to the Chamber of Commerce in Bogota, in 2020 represent 8.5% of industrial GDP and is increasingly. In addition, is an important source to generate employment In the world, 150,000 garments are manufactured every year in this industry. However, the textile industry is falling because of mass consumption, fast fashion, and poor quality. This advantage has made consumers digitally connected. This is why the industry sought ways to keep them satisfied through product customization and authentic and sustainable experiences through a new smart textile. Because of this, because most of change that favor an industry trend to negatively impact. So companies are creating strategies that help the environment. For example, Adidas creates shoes with plastic waste. And this is why in the long term, it is expected to replace approximately 70% of all the textile fibers and chemicals uses. So that today it is matter of developing natural fibers such as flax and hemp, and that biomanufacturing is the primary process of growing new materials from microorganisms such as bacteria.
Okay, so one purpose of big data is to detect defects and errors that are presented in products. However, the most recognized stores in the world focused on fast fashion continue to fail in this because customers have increasingly been aware of the poor quality of these products. For example, in H&M, they do not contribute to the environment and exploit their workers. So they obscure the implementation of the things mentioned above in stores that are not so well known, but are committed to the society and the environment. However, it is expected that in the next years, Colombian companies will apply these advances and make the trend to the textile industry to go from the fast fashion to the slow fashion, something that is already done for most pymes.
And thank you so much to everyone that listens to Archery News. Have a nice day.
Thank you, bye.